I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming. So we have a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Motion.
Second.
A second discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, public comment. Okay. Consent items. Do we have a motion to approve the consent items?
Motion.
Motion by Mike Glenn.
Second.
Second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Discussion items, review of season pass pricing.
This says that I will be presenting, and actually I will like to defer with the chair's approval to Lisa, our
Okay.
AD.
Okay, so on your, the paperwork that you got in your packet, the goal is to increase HHS attendance of the students and then to get rid of the student pass and to create a family pass. A couple of the issues that the reasoning, students who maybe have to pick and choose or choose to run the concessions so they can be in the area, lower income, once you're in 7th grade, come and they're doing everything at the events, they're coming to the events, what we want them to do rather than other choices that may not be as healthy for them. And then the other issue that we still have is the babysitting issue, as most of my AV colleagues call it during event time, when the elementary it's more or less a free-for-all. And so we definitely have the blind corner back by the bathrooms, the popcorn spill. You know, Phil would let me know about it. We would clean up as much as we could. Sometimes it's in the bathrooms. I can't go in all the bathrooms. You know, and then yet at the same time make sure that sportsmanship is correct in the gym. So the goal in this is that all elementary students would need to be with a parent in order to get into the game. Elementary, so that would be 6th grade and younger, preschool. So my proposal is that high school students would get in free once you reach 7th grade. We would have a family pass for $90, we'd still have the adult pass for $40 and the senior citizen pass for $25.
So what's the definition of a family?
A person and a student, a parent and a student. Or
What if the
many
student,
students.
what if the student wants to come to the game, an elementary student, but the parent doesn't?
Then they shouldn't come.
Okay.
That is a very strong viewpoint I have, just with the result of what goes on. You know, and I can't tell you how many times I have saved a kindergartner or a 2nd grader from being blown over by Alex Van Gundy or Mikkel, or the quickness of Alyssa just in a basketball game. I'm like, you know, or making them stop and sit down and then they're scared, and you know, and sometimes that's just them running to the concession, but they just don't look. And then we have a couple times we've had kids bump their heads in the hallway. We have popcorn spilled. It's just a voice that I constantly have. I've even gone to the elementary during Pep Fest and talk about how you act during a game. At one point I had Kelly Jervis shooting a free throw. I said, this is when you sit. This is when you sit. And then when we pretended there was a timeout, this is when you can go get concessions. You know, I went through all of that. That was a couple years ago, but so it's not for lack of trying to maintain that. Yes.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and I see the issue. We'll just have to well advertise the change, and then I would just urge you to see how many spill in where there's an event going, and all of a sudden they're sent to the school to go to the game and they're turned away. We'll have to see that first.
Right. You know, and during volleyball season, they also play in the teardrop. someone will bring a volleyball and play in the teardrop. So we have cars going on, I'm not going outside, I have the bathroom and I have the gym. You know, and when we have really big nights, Mr. Lundberg and I will tag team. And one will be in one corner of the gym, and then we'll kind of take care of the hallway, you know, so.
I'm just even thinking the pamphlets going home saying your child needs to be accompanied by an adult. Some aren't gonna be received, and you're gonna still have those kids that are like, there's a game, there's activity over there, I'm gonna come over. Not that it's our responsibility, but I do feel a sense of ownership to those kids, that they're gonna come to the school for this event now, so they can't.
Right, I would say for that, the first, especially, you know, those first volleyball games, we can absolutely, you know, in that situation where it was a drop-off, then we would have a sheet ready for them that you need to give this to your parent.
There you go.
You know, I mean, we can make it so that we're just not making them stand outside till their parent picks them back up, you know, I mean, just because it is a transition time. The best transition time is, you know, of course, from beginning of the fall, so.
Just a point of interest there is that for my master's degree, I had to do a survey paper on attendance at games in all the schools in the whole area. And this does not mean a loss of much revenue. I mean, it's very low revenue that you get from these students. Well, we're talking about the high school students coming in free. The revenue is very, very low there. And I also had to supervise games when I was here, and that's a nightmare because you've all seen it. The person standing supervising, students come from one side of the gym and they want to run across the end of the gym, right in the field of play. And referees do not like that, and I know that from refereeing myself. That's a horrible scene that can potentially happen. And hopefully, with them having to have a parent here, that can be stopped a little bit from what it had been in the past. So I sympathize with you and Mr. Lundberg because it is you know, supervision is a nightmare on those game nights.
To add, and this is something that you haven't brought up yet, but I know that Lisa's talked to other ADs in the area, and I did reach out to another superintendent because I found out that they don't allow any of the elementary kids to play football, because I know when you go to our football games here on Friday, there's the little kid football game going on here, there's a little football game going on there, there's little, like, almost wrestling going on everywhere. And so I called the soup and I said, okay, you don't allow football, the side football games going on, you don't allow the side volleyball games going on. Number one, is there a reason why you put the kibosh on that, and how did you do it? And she said they ended up at one of those football games with I think was a fourth grader, breaking a limb. And the liability was such that they said they had to cut it off. And she said it was just a lot of communicating with parents. And then they said the only way they could do it is with younger kids had to come with parents, and younger kids had to stay with parents. They're not allowed to just go off. So if you're bringing your children, you stay with your children.
They're gonna be devastated.
Well, and I know they turn the football in when they come, then they come, you know, if they happen to try to
There
sneak
goes all
one.
the fun.
They're
Is
always
that is that proposed too then? No side game
Well,
football?
you know, I know
I've
some
talked-
St. Charles
Baby
is
steps,
I've
Jack.
tossed
You
with
think the
you.
parent's gonna be out there with,
Babies.
I'm
Did you have something you wanted to say? You look like
And
a
not
jumper.
that I'm saying that we need to go that far, but I'm saying that is, the fact that we're just saying students have to come with the parent, that's really just a baby step compared to what most of the other area schools,
No.
I'm not sure it's most, I know at least 3 other area
No, and
schools
the-
are going with if you come, and you have to come with a parent, you have to stay with the parent. And with the volleyball, I get nervous about the kids playing in the teardrop because there's cars zipping around on that teardrop. And I don't want anyone hurt.
And volleyball's going left too. But then it's over, so.
but the family pass of $90, so If you had a single parent with a child, it'd be
Well,
$90.
it would be, and then in the sense that would be, if they didn't get the pass, I mean, they could pay, it would be $296 to come to all 37 games. So it still is a cost savings. I know if we compare it to what the student pass was to that is true, but it's still a savings. So if they, if the plan, they could try to pay for the pass for the adult and then maybe pay $3 for the student. I mean, there could be some ways, but it is $296 if they were to pay out.
For every game.
Yeah.
Just a point of interest there, how do you, are you allowing a divorced family to purchase a family pass also? And
They
then
have.
husband
I
and
mean, they
wife-
have purchased
Former
couple
husband and wife can,
They have.
Yeah.
We have
Okay.
divorced parents who have purchased couple passes.
okay, yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that was
Well,
my
yeah, Judge.
question, when you've got kids that are going between homes and you've got remarried parents. You're getting 4 adults on a family pass then? I'm just.
yeah, it's a great question.
Well-
You're right, and it's not unrealistic either.
Well, I'd say-
Just pass the pass.
Sorry, I'd say probably no on that one, because one of them can get a couple's pass, and the other one get the family pass. And they can figure that out. And we can, look on campus, of who's that family issue, that was your question, how do you define as a family? Well, they're all in our district, so we can quickly see, this is your family from, a data management system that just says, here's who's in the family. If they're getting one, we can easily put down the kids right on the pass that are in that family. But yeah, if they're divorced, it'd be kind of 2 separate things, because they're gonna have to have the pass when they come with the kids. Because we have the Lions Club taking, tickets, and so they don't know all the kids, and so they're really gonna have to have that on the pass.
Todd's
Who's
supposed
on
to
it.
marshal this.
It just doesn't seem right to me to not have a kid be able to buy. Like, if I'm a single mom and I have a kid and we wanna come to the games, I don't understand why I couldn't buy an adult pass and a pass for my kid. I don't understand why I'd have to pay $90 instead of $55.
You could pay $8 and just come for that one time.
I wanna come to every basketball game and my kid sits beside me, and I don't.
Otherwise,
So-
you're paying $296. I mean, it's still a fantastic savings.
I know, but no, I understand what you're saying, but it's a big change from what it is right now. Right now, I pay 55 and you're telling me I have to pay 90.
Mr. Chair, I think that, that's probably a valid point, and, the board can decide on that. If you look at what an adult pass is, 40, and, it's about $20 more is really what we're saying for the students. So you could say an adult and a kid, if you just have the one kid, and make that a $60 pass. So if it's a single parent and they're one kid, you could make that a $60 pass opposed to a $90 pass. Because that's about what we were saying, is it was gonna be about $20 more for it to add on the kids onto, the pass.
Well,
It's kind of when we figured it out.
that's what you're saying on here for the staff members, right? For faculty.
Right,
And then
because they get
they
their
pay-
pass.
Correct, they
and-
get $20,
They
correct,
pay extra 20, then the child can
beyond their pass.
send it pass.
The other thing that, if this is just language taken from the lacrosse YMCA, when you go there, let's just say I send a 6-year-old to the lacrosse YMCA, it doesn't have to be their parent. They have to be with a parent or a guardian who is 18 years old supervising them. So if I want to have a birthday party for Helen and take 3 of her friends to the game, and they're going to sit beside me and I'm watching them, you're saying I can't because they're not my kids?
Well, I'm saying first, you're an amazing parent to have all 3 of them at a birthday party at a game sitting there.
Well,
that
I-
doesn't happen.
I take my kids to the games and I might want to take a friend. Or the other thing is maybe Noah's back from college and he
Yeah.
wants to take Helen to a game. You're saying that's not allowed?
I will tell you right now, we have 18-year-olds bringing their younger preschooler, and they are not watching them.
Well, they
And
have
so-
parents not watching them either. And so I think that's an
Yeah,
education.
absolutely.
But it's definitions, guardian
Yeah, you're right, we'll have to
is
expand
a
that.
responsible,
You're right. I don't know exactly what the term of guardian is, but if you put an age on it. But I think even if you do this, honestly, if you don't tell the parents, your kid needs to sit and watch the game. They can't be out playing because there are many parents that just go sit down and their kids are gone the whole day or the whole game during
Well, I
basketball.
think that's what you were
No,
talking about earlier, is
it-
that's education. You're just gonna
Right,
step in, you or
massive
Todd or somebody, and say,
communication.
hey, we caught your child in the bathroom, and they're 5. You need to watch them. That type of thing. The parent needs to be informed. And you either monitor your child or you're gonna have to leave the game. I mean, that's just what's gonna have to be.
Right.
Well, there's the
You know?
people just dropping them off, which
Well,
you
you
said,
don't want
but there's
that
the
because
people
then we're
that
liable
come.
for them.
But there's the people that come and let them do whatever they want.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's.
I mean,
that's
honestly,
very-
that's
No,
why-
I agree.
That's why I don't do football games, because it's stressful for me, because I don't know where my kids are, literally, like,
They're in
they
that
could
pool of
be,
mud.
they could be over at the park and I wouldn't know, cause there's so many kids running around crazy.
I think the sad thing is it's like everything else in life. She's absolutely right, what she's saying. The sad thing is we have to make rules based upon the people that don't follow the rules. And that's what's very sad about life. When I supervise games, there's parents, what I see happening here is I see older brother, 19 years old, coming back from college, and a parent saying, hey, will you take the kids to the game? You know, I'm busy tonight. And so that 19-year-old takes the 3 little brothers and sisters to the game and doesn't watch them because they're 19. And there's no other excuse than that. And sadly, that doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it creates a real problem for the two of you. And that's what's sad. We have to make rules based upon those that don't want to follow our rules.
And you're absolutely right in saying we have parents that don't, you know, I mean, so
Yes.
we may have the most responsible 19-year-old that does wonderful and a parent who, I don't know,
Yeah.
where's my kid, you know?
Yeah.
So you're right, I mean, it's both sides, and so maybe we need to change some of the language. I just really want some communication, and I really want the high schoolers to get them free, so that if
I like
that's,
that idea.
I think
That is
that's a
a-
good idea because I think
I love that.
it would get a little more participation.
and I just think the more, the better we can fill that gym, the better. You know, I think football is its own situation, and whether we wanna tackle that in
Nice
this
one.
conversation or not, on how far we wanna go with that, that is, that's fine, I would, you know, but,
It's getting very hard to find because Lisa can't be at every event. And it's getting very hard to find other people that are willing to do it because it's
stressful for you.
stress, because it's not just their kids, they're trying to watch all the kids, and you can't be in the hallway, in the bathroom, in the gym, and out in the teardrop all at the same time. And that's, to do this the way we've got it right now, you almost have to be everywhere at once, and that's not fair it's not fair to the person that's trying to do the supervision.
And I know as ticket taker, like, there's a lot of those kids that are over by the doors pushing each other out or holding the door
Oh,
for
yeah.
somebody, or they're running up and down the hall. Constantly, they're not in the gym at all.
And can you tell them right now, like, you don't tell them, go sit down.
Well, I said, go watch a game, that's why you're here, and they go running because they're scared of me, you know. So, I mean, I just say, what are you doing? And then they're, oh, I'm going to the bathroom. I mean, they try to look busy, or, you know, or they'll just, I just get it, you know. So I'm very abrupt and upfront with them, partially because they know me from the elementary school, so I just like, you need to go.
So
I haven't had a confrontation with the parents yet on that.
so we're just considering this for a first.
This
We're
is
not-
just discussion, we're
Okay.
not acting on
So
it.
what I'm hearing is that we pretty much like the idea of letting 7 through 12 in
For free.
Okay.
Correct.
But I think I'm uncomfortable with what we've got for
Okay.
the families and the adults and the kids. There have been discussions on, in a small town like this, the school is the community, and there are not, I mean, it is kind of the only place there's action in the town.
Right,
And
something
I
to
don't
do.
think that's an excuse to let it go on where there's danger, but I think there's some sensitivity to that situation that we need to try and make a place for the community as well. So I don't know how you can
No,
rework that.
I mean, I hear you on that, because it is, I always think that each thing that happens is, you know, you're planning an event for 400 people, it's kind of like, because you don't know how many are gonna
Yeah.
come.
I mean,
You
Mimi's
want-
points are well taken with,
Oh, yeah, and the price, I
I
mean, I
mean-
think that maybe we can look at tweaking that again, if you have an adult that's coming, you're a single adult, you buy an adult ticket for $40, or like Todd mentioned, $60, and then your student's free. I mean,
or a
that maybe-
guardian thing, I
yeah.
mean, you know, putting,
Well, I
what
think
does Saturday night open gym? They come in with a guardian or they come in with a parent?
That,
They come in with 7 through 12, so
It's
there's-
just
That's
7
all
through
I
12.
yeah.
Okay.
yeah, no, 6.
Did you have something, Todd, before?
Yeah, just, a couple things. One is, family, and defining that more. Of course, once a kid graduates, I don't think they would be considered under that family pass. And the other thing is, we want to keep that family, and part of this was keeping the family pass low enough so we encourage the families to come, because we want that. But we want the parents to understand that you need to be with your kids. I think that's super important. And that's a big part of it, because by saying all these high school kids are coming, we're gonna have more and more high school kids there, so there's gonna be a little bit more supervision of that. So if we're allowing all these high school kids to come, we have more high school kids, that's gonna be less we're gonna be able to deal with the elementary kids, which that's where we're saying parents need to step up and do this. We wanna keep your pass low. You can, you're the board, you can decide to say, well, let's make the family pass even cheaper. Great. The key is we want the parents to be supervising these kids, their kids, when they go to games. I know our family, when our kids they didn't go. Julie didn't take them to a lot of games because she knew it would be tough for them. That was a decision that we made. We're not just gonna let them, and when they did come, they had to sit right next to it. That was the standard, and I think that can be the standard of everyone. We don't wanna go something that's cost prohibitive, so if you say, let's make that family pass even cheaper, that's up to you. You need to set those prices, but I think it's really important that we do have parents supervising their kids. And that's a whole piece of it, because we are hoping that we get a lot more high school kids. That just means our supervision, when Lisa and I are supervising, we need to make sure that we have a lot of focus on the high school kids and not starting to chant something that's inappropriate when we have now 100 kids there at games opposed to, 35 kids a game.
And
So that's something to make sure you consider. And
Well, I think
so we thought a lot about all of this, and we're not the only school that's doing this. And I know another school that, yeah, absolutely, any elementary kid that's not with their parents, they're calling the parents and have them come pick them up.
I think that part of it, I think we've agreed on, where, no young kids without a parent. I think, correct? I'm getting that from everybody, pretty
Well,
much that's fine.
I think we wouldn't even be having this discussion if we all didn't recognize that parenting has changed since we all went to school. I can tell you for years and years and years, there wasn't an issue with kids at a basketball game running around. Parenting has changed. Like it or dislike it, that's up to you. But it's changed, and so that's why we have to have the discussion. When we decide, yeah, we want to have kids at the games as much as we can. We want parents to come to the games as much as we can. It's just how do we do that and make their job where they can actually do it. That's what's tough.
With the high school kids there, they have to stay in the gym. That's just, they will not have time to go out and supervise.
I think, like I said, I think the main thing, we should look at the price, is about all we should, I think the free passes, I think everybody here agrees to that. We talked about senior citizens last year, I believe it was, we changed that. I think the adult pass is pretty reasonable. I think the family one is kind of where the question comes on. Like Mimi said, if you're an adult and you have one child, your child's in 8th grade, should I only have to pay the $40? Correct? Because then I can get in, the kid gets in free anyway. I don't have to buy a family pass. If that's the way we're gonna, that may be more of a, if you're a single parent, right? We should be able to go that way. And then now, that's gonna cover your concerns, correct, Mimi?
Unless they have an elementary student, that's sort of what she's talking
I'm
about.
thinking
Well, if you're an
if you put-
elementary student, then you're gonna have to look at, that's where the price on the family one.
Yeah.
I don't
then
understand
maybe-
why we couldn't say student $15 and they could buy one for a student.
So
And-
go to $40 for the adult and the
And
$15.
so they're gonna spend
So that,
55.
if we're looking at the 55 price range for a grade school student and an adult, 55, and I think Todd mentioned 60, that's
60 for a single parent.
single
family.
parent type scenario.
Both Todd and I, as we were talking about it, really just didn't want the student pass available in the sense, or just even out there that was an option to just come as a student.
No, we're not
I
saying
think you
that.
can
but
put
we're-
an asterisk, must be purchased with an adult.
I mean, if you do a single
And say
family.
must have, and I don't think it should say parent, it must be supervised. I mean, if I take Helen and her friend to a game and we're sitting there watching the game, you guys aren't gonna come up and say, you shouldn't have so-and-so here. If they're running around in the hallway causing problems, you're gonna say,
Go find your mom.
who are you here with? You are in trouble. But if I I mean, it's not, the
Right.
kids that are sitting there and being good, like he's, you know.
They should get to come still.
They should get to come, and it shouldn't be a parent. If I wanna, you know, it should be supervised, but when they start to go out in the hallway, then give them a red slip or something and say, I don't know what
the
you-
yellow card or something.
yeah, and something, go take this to your parent, and it says, I was in the hall running around and I'm supposed to be supervised, you know? I mean, whatever you decide to do, but I think it's more communication. I mean,
That's the
and I'll
biggest
admit,
part.
and I'm sure Josh will admit too, it's sometimes, I mean, it's hard to keep track of your kid. I mean, if they wanna go get a popcorn
They're
or
the
whatever.
reason for this whole meeting.
Yeah. They can get away from you sometimes.
Well, you know, and the main part is, it's just been, especially with basketball, that is always, there's a little one coming and they have money and they're excited to go to concessions, which, great, they're learning independence, they're learning about money, they're going to get a treat, and they're gonna get smucked on their way because there comes a basketball player, you know, and so, that is just almost, yeah, so.
So the student price set by the conference of $3. What age student is that then? 'Cause-
That's, kindergarten through 12.
So
So
if
vis-
a
all
if a
visiting
second
group.
grader came, I mean, what stops them from getting a $3 pass?
Oh, absolutely.
And not being,
Oh, I see.
and not being supervised then?
Well,
We still could say the same thing. Who's your parent here?
Who's your
I mean,
parent?
they're not gonna come from out of town.
Yeah.
You
second
know, a
graders
third grader is
should
not
come
gonna come from out
down.
of town. Maybe they got their dad's tractor and drove
We
in,
should
I
go
don't
drop
know, but probably
Yeah,
not.
See what happens.
Well,
yeah.
there will be some out-of-town
Oh,
parents come
again,
with a student
Correct.
that they supervise.
Right, so they'll be
both
able to buy a pass or to get in right there.
Yeah.
They
Buy the
just wouldn't
ticket.
have a pass for
Yeah.
them.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, I think you have an idea what we're looking for.
well,
Does anybody have any other questions? I would be fine with the one adult young student for $60, that would be fair. Others may want it less, I don't know about you, Pete, what are your 60, 55? I
I
mean,
think-
55 is where it'd be
I
at
think
right now, the way it is.
60 is right, because I think it has to be reduced for the purpose that she brought up here, is that, like Mimi said, you know, if I'm a single parent and I'm bringing my one child to the game, $90, I'm shelling out quite a bit of money versus the family, so it's like I'm being a little punished because I'm a single parent, you know?
Right, we want that, right.
Yeah.
welcome to life.
Yeah. Josh, what are your thoughts on
It's
it?
not so blatant
Yeah.
usually, but.
The language on
Oh,
it,
yeah,
and
it
then
is.
I agree. The 7th through 12th grade, let's promote it for the high school kids to get to the events.
Right, I mean, are you happy with the 60 or 55? I mean, I think.
I would like an additional line item in there, price tier for it.
And I think
follow
60
Mimi's.
60 follows,
Is
because it's
60
a
good?
40
Is what
adult
I'm
pass,
asking. Is 60
and then
fine?
20 for the
Right now, it's
64.
55.
64.
Or the-
And that's what,
like one adult
that's what you
and
got for the
Or you
staff
could just say
members.
child must be
the
purchased
20,
with an
so,
adult,
right,
so
that
then
type
it'd
of
be,
thing.
Well,
it'd end up
that's,
being
that's,
40 and then 15 and kids, then they'd have to pay
55,
30.
55, I don't know how.
That's why I was thinking
revenue's really-
60, kind of happy medium, you know what I mean?
Okay,
60 for the entire family, or is an additional pass for, do we wanna really bring out single parent with one child, or should we just say family $60?
No,
I mean, I just, you know, I mean, if we just make it,
trying to keep it
Just a-
simpler.
I just don't want you, well, I'm a
Well, I
single
think guys-
parent and I want.
Couple.
But then the couples are 70, I guess I just want a family then.
then you buy two separate adult passes for 80.
No,
And then you
wasn't
get
it
the
just
family
to
for
add
90.
60, add that other
Add it to the
category?
other one,
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's
it's-
adult with one child.
Right.
well, just a
Adult
single,
was-
because
single parent.
single parent,
Yeah.
Single
Single
parent
parent
as many
family.
child.
And
children.
again, I don't,
You
you
can
know,
get
it's,
4 children under that.
I mean, nobody's gonna see this after today. Okay, the question's gonna come up with when they're buying the pass. They're gonna
Right.
come in and say, hey, I need a pass, I'm a single parent, I have an 5th grader. How much is it for me?
$60.
All right, the lacrosse, again, lacrosse YMCA, they have one adult household, 2 adult household. One adult household with children, 2 adult household with children. I'm not saying we need to do that, but that's how they break it out.
And that's basically how ours is.
we could, instead of, I like saying family instead of.
Gene, are you
household.
happy with that?
Well, you could say one adult
Yeah.
family,
Michaeline?
Yeah, one adult family.
Yeah,
Well,
I just want
yeah.
to see something in.
and one adult
In between.
family with children.
Right.
How does that work?
Well, that's what I figured.
Yeah, that doesn't work at all. So one adult family, or,
You get the gist.
Married with children or
Yeah.
not.
I don't know, not confused by something.
So how,
So I think that's, just come up with that type of verbiage for the parent.
Sure,
Who
just have
wanna,
it ready for the.
single, yeah.
for the next meeting.
Oh, the,
Do you have direction?
I do, thank
Okay.
you, appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
this next meeting, or?
Next meeting,
Yeah.
so it's
We'll
on
vote on
old
it.
business on the 16th.
With updates.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you very
Yep.
much.
Thank you for all that. I know how much work you've put into this and how much research you've put in as far as talking to other ADs, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the approval of the 1920 MNBA cohort dates? Do we have a motion to approve that?
I so move.
Motion? Do you have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
That's keeping them the same as they have been. so
Yep.
it's,
That's the status quo. We looked at possibly removing, senior high, the high school enrollments in November and February, and we realized that, last year that would have reduced 100 kids from our enrollment. And when we're trying to build Destination Career Academy, this is not the right time to do that limitation.
Any other discussion on it? Any other? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Gender neutral access room?
We talked about this before, facility asked if we could get a bid back to them. And instead of having another facility meeting to have them approve it, I thought it was easier just to bring it to the board. It is, ends up being under 3,300. So that's better than what I thought it was going to be. As a reminder, this is putting in a new door into the girls' locker room office so that there would be an entrance from the hallway across from the bathrooms. So that room could be then used for a unisex office for referees to change clothes. We'd make sure that the door is locked to the girls' locker room so the girls would be still have privacy and would be safe. It's a better use of space.
Okay.
Is anything else that,
And a neutral ice machine can go.
and,
in.
oh, a neutral ice machine, yes.
How did you obtain that?
Is that ice machine included in price?
The boys' ice machine. So,
There are pictures under the other PDF. Can you pull up the other one to show?
Hmm?
How did you?
He was asking where.
So do we have a
It's in the
motion?
boys locker room, maybe not.
Yeah, there is.
No.
So do we have a motion to approve the gender neutral
so,
access?
so I make that motion.
Okay, Josh made a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Jack, okay. Further discussion?
Josh and me.
Josh and Mimi,
Okay, thank you.
when are they gonna start on this, Quinn?
As soon as we tell them that, well,
After
we'll-
school?
we're gonna,
I'll finish cleaning it out, it's okay.
yeah.
I mean, it's not gonna be done until,
We're not gonna have.
It'll be
demo
done by
there.
volleyball season,
What?
by volleyball season.
Yes, it'll be
Next
done
year.
this summer.
Yeah.
Everything else around here is gonna be ripped up this summer.
yeah,
Might
well,
as
that's what I was
start
gonna say, we don't wanna
blasting
necessarily do it
concrete
between
there,
now and
too.
graduation, cause that's.
Oh, no,
good.
no.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. New business? Literacy plan approval? Or just,
Literacy plan, we've got updates to it. Just to match what's actually going, thank you so much. They're both going back to the playground. Okay. Updates to really align to what's going on as far as the testing. MNVA is going to be using Star 360. It's just more conducive to the online world than FastBridge. They'll still be using some FastBridge reading probes for intervention and for the other progress monitoring that they do with interventions, but I wanted to make sure that our literacy plan actually reflected what we were going to be doing as far as the diagnostic testing for kindergarten through grade 3 literacy. And then there are some of the interventions that have changed, and I wanted to make sure that this was actually accurate.
So have we used Star 360 before now?
We used Star 360 this year at the high school and middle school level, and the teachers really liked it. And the elementary teachers looked at it and said it was going to be much better for them than the Fastbridge.
So we'll have to hang on to Fastbridge in the transition year, or?
Well, and with Fastbridge is something that we get through HVED, so Fastbridge is still going to be there, we're not going to lose Fastbridge. We'll still use the Fastbridge for progress monitoring for the reading interventions. But the Star 360 also offers other interventions, and it offers some skill building. So it's a much better all-in-one tool, and it's easier to implement and to actually use in an online world.
And what's the STRIDE assessment?
STRIDE is another tool within the K-12 learning suite, where STRIDE is more of a diagnostic, just like Alex Math does the diagnostic and then gives the students developmentally appropriate skills to develop so they can build onto the next level. STRIDE is based the same thing.
And that's for MNVA and local, or just?
That's just MNVA.
Okay.
Was I not clear in the writing there that it was?
No, well, I was,
Okay,
it's just helpful to hear it. I
Right.
read it, but.
yeah. No, because if something's not clear, I wanted, the whole purpose of this is to make sure that we are communicating clarity. So if something's not clear, let's fix it.
So is it gonna be, are we gonna approve this next meeting? Or is it not gonna have any changes and we can approve it now?
If there's not going to be any changes, we can approve it now. In looking through, Rick has looked through it, and Angela both have looked through it, and both have weighed in and made their changes. So now I am confident that what is written in this plan mirrors what we're doing and what we will be doing going forward. Right now, we're still using Fastbridge at MNVA, but the teachers are very excited that they're allowed to use Star 360 next year. They're already using STRIDE. That was not in the existing plan, but it makes sense to put it in there because we are using it.
So do we have a motion to approve the new plan?
I so move.
Motion made by Gene, second?
I second it.
Pete?
Seems like the plans really cover that. We're trying to catch them early and do some intervention work with them to keep them on track.
That's the goal.
Okay, Michaeline, do you have any more questions on it? Amy, do you have any? Josh?
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Policies for first reading. First reading, anything you wanna bring up, Michaeline, that, always go to you.
There weren't many changes to either one of these.
Yeah, well, there was a change in language to the post-secondary enrollment option students.
Yeah.
Or visitors. Yeah, which one did I have? It was just a point of clarification on the verbiage. I guess I can email you. I don't, there's something on use of school facilities and equipment, and it was on definitions for, let's see, here. Okay, so, alright, so, yeah, use of school facilities and equipment. There's a discussion of,
The tobacco use or?
no, I guess
Okay.
it's not this one, it's all in the visitors section. It's all in the visitors one.
And I just kind of read through them and gave a cursory, it's about the same.
So, no, there, okay, what was I looking at? Oh, I know, it was the addendums to one of these. That's what I'm not seeing here. I will contact you with questions. but-
Okay, there's the high school addendum, the visitor procedure.
Well, so one question I had on this is, to go into the elementary school, is there a buzz-in system?
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Okay, because I haven't been there for a while, so, but once you buzz them in the door, they have.
they still have to report to the office
Right.
because it's not as secure an entrance as what we'd like.
Right.
So we
Right.
still have that, and they're told that when they're buzzed in, please report to the office.
Okay,
That's one of the things that we had on the plan to change sometime, is add that security. I
Yeah.
think you put in for,
They're free to go anyplace if they don't go up in the office, whereas here, I mean, you gotta go to the office before you can get
Right.
through the next door.
and we were trying to do similar like at the grade school or the elementary school. It's just that we didn't get the funding.
Not
and-
yet.
Not yet, and that's on our plan to add that.
so I guess I was wondering if, when it says must report to the office, should we have anything in there about what entrance? Because now we have our entrances kind of with signage. You know, I mean, people can't come in, but is there any reason to add in there entrance, whatever, where the district, you know, which entrance is the main entrance? Are the doors marked with, they're all marked with a letter? right
A.
here?
This one's not done yet, right?
Yeah, it's marked with the number one.
No, I mean,
Oh, the canopy?
Right.
No, that's
I
not
mean,
there.
maybe where are these published? Where are these procedures published? Just in the offices and with the policies?
All other doors are locked too, and that's the only one that's got
Every door does have
a buzz.
the
designated.
little,
Plaque on
it's not a plaque. Kyle did the cutting of the letters, and so that every door is lettered as far as the procedure.
it? Oh, okay,
So every door does have signage about,
directing you to where the main
Yep.
entrance is. Okay,
And on the elementary, I think there's two bus-ins, isn't there? There's one in the east as well, for the people coming in. I think there's one back there at that door.
oh, on the back door, there is a buzzer on the back door as well. And on the back by the kindergarten room,
Right.
there is a buzzer there that they can buzz in and that can be unlocked.
okay, well then my other question was back on the facilities, and it was on the addendum, the facility use procedures. And just the question is, there's a definition there for eligible organizations, and then there's a section on fees. And it says, all out for fees, which is section 15. All outside organizations or groups not connected to the school, with the exception of valid public service organizations of the community. Is that the same as eligible organizations? I just wanted to clear up the language. Because there have been, and then the question of nobody should be collecting fees for profit. That was another, I've been approached on those two things about facilities use by groups perceived or being outside of the school. And I've directed them to the principal or to you, and I haven't, you know, so I just am trying to clarify it now that I'm seeing it.
And we had that conversation before, haven't we? I can't remember the specifics, but I remember you bringing it up before.
Yeah, so I'm just looking for, is there a way to make the language?
And I think in some, the valid service organization, if I remember correctly, the reason that was put in there is because we do not charge a Centec to use it. And that's because they've also, they've done kind of a quid pro quo as far as providing that, the projector, that they bought that projector that's in the gym for their
Presentation.
their presentations,
They
and
don't
they
use
just
it.
leave it there.
Yeah, they don't use it anymore, but we use it.
Yeah. It's old, which is why they don't use it. We probably need to replace it with a Bluetooth one. But,
I think
Anyway,
it's come up also with the Owl Festival, and it has come up with,
and we do not charge the Owl Festival because they do come in and do presentations to our students, and they've let us use the nature center.
and it's been brought up because of, sport camps that are put on by individuals who are collecting a fee that is not a fee going to the school, it's going to the organization. That was the other
That was
one.
the one I remember you saying.
That's, yeah.
So I guess this policy and these procedures should address that, so we're being consistent. And
Who would be the best people to look this over as far as, is this something you want the policy committee? Because we can lay it over and not, I don't need to put it on for second reading and approval for May 16th. We could lay it over and have facilities, or not facilities, that was policy, or have community education, having Rick and maybe the
well, are most
athletic
of those
director.
things run through community ed? Most of those types of,
Most of the camps, most of the camps are, I don't know if they're run through community ed or if the coaches contact the AD and
Well,
see
maybe you
what's.
should have the policy and the AD, until you, or find out who's involved in it, and then make the decision at that time, don't just
And-
grasp,
and-
wait,
yeah.
see who's involved, because I know the question has come up before, I've heard it before, I just don't remember exactly when. I know it was a couple of years ago, with these camps collecting funds and the school's getting nothing, but we're providing a location and other things, and they're not really associated with the school. Is that really what we wanna do? Kinda like what Mike Lean said, we should be consistent. So if we're gonna have somebody outside our school utilizing our building, would we charge them? I'm assuming we would, correct?
yeah, but we
But we
haven't,
haven't,
because we
so-
haven't had I mean, and it's, it's educational for the kids because it provides an on-site educational opportunity, and yet local coaches do those and don't, I mean, the fee goes to the school and they don't get anything, and then an outside group comes in, doesn't charge a fee, but gets some proceeds.
When local coaches do the camps and they charge a fee, usually it's to pay for the t-shirts that the kiddos get in the camp, and the fee pays for if there's food and water and soda well, they shouldn't have soda, but Gatorade,
Well, I think there just needs some
Well, just
clarity
some
on that
clarity
one.
on it.
Yes.
We can
I
go to
think-
policy is fine.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think policy
Okay.
can cover it, if we just
I
get with
will-
whoever
I mean,
does
if,
it.
unless there are.
I mean, I'm fine, I don't think finance has to get involved, you can give me it all, there's no money in any transition, facility doesn't really need to. So.
Facilities is included in there in
Right.
terms of if there's additional janitorial costs,
Right.
then that organization needs to pay for that above.
Yeah.
you know.
Do we have the fees established already? It says
No.
fees will be established.
By the board, and I don't know what the fees are.
And right
That's
now, we
already
don't,
fee.
because we haven't had any charges.
There were fees when Marilyn from Bayard was community ed director. She had a very tight fee schedule.
That was a long time.
Might be kind of fun to,
Dig that out again?
well, not only dig it out, but also to see what neighboring schools do.
Oh,
You know, just look at their plan, and not that we have to adopt theirs, but just to kind of see schools in the area, how are they addressing this? Because it's gotta come up for them in the same fashion it does for us. So, it just might be worth it to look at that, if we
Make a
can
call.
well,
Yeah,
right now, within the last 3 days, I've gotten no fewer than 5 emails from superintendents who are getting information on,
asking the same thing.
well, on contracts and negotiations
Yes,
starting
yes.
up and bus routes, and so,
Yeah,
yeah,
good thing to
I'll-
share.
yep, I'll
Yeah.
start a conversation on this one,
Okay. So we'll hold it off, we won't have it on the next meeting.
okay? So, Ian, just so you know, that one,
Specifically this one,
use of facilities and equipment will get laid over.
Mhm.
Visitors was okay?
Okay. Anything else on that, announcements? Sporting events?
Announcements, yes. Next week is Teacher Appreciation Week.
I think it's this week.
I think it's May 6th. Isn't it?
Should be on the calendar.
Um,
Well, we appreciate our teachers, right?
yes. And we really, what, yeah, it's May 6th through the 10th.
Okay.
It's next week.
Does the Legion give them an apple? or
The Legion gives an
auxiliary?
apple, but yes, it would,
Why do
we will, work on something for Teacher Appreciation Week here, because we do appreciate them.
We're fortunate.
We've got a good group of teachers. Tools for Schools, Hannah Levenick received a $750 grant from Brennigan Chevrolet,
Yes,
Dependable
yeah.
Solutions,
Dependable Solutions is in
Yep.
there, yeah.
and so it was, she applied for it, and, Joe Ruski from Dependable Solutions was just thrilled that he could give it to somebody from one of the schools he works with. And so she's, going to be supplying and purchasing STEM, materials for her classroom, and she will be sharing them with Angie in the other kindergarten classroom. Speaking of STEM, Ann Markegard put together STEM kits for every elementary school teacher. So on Monday of this week, the elementary teachers took a field trip for their after-school teacher meeting, went to the city library, and Ann Markegard went through each of the teacher kits she'd put together, explaining how to use it. So this is not only an important event that they got the STEM kits, it's also a huge thank you, public thank you to Ann Markegard for that. It was very nice. And then another big news, Houston High School made the US News and World Report rankings again. We are 58th in the state of Minnesota out of 853 schools. St. Charles is 39th, but other than that, the other schools around us are
In the 90s.
in the 90s or 80s.
What's
80s or
89?
90s.
What's it
Grove.
based on?
The US News and World Report rankings base it on your graduation rate, on your AP test participation, on your AP test success rate. It's basically a career and college readiness score. So with that, out of a possible 100 points, Houston Public Schools got an 80.88. So that is, they don't do the gold, silver, bronze anymore. But to realize that Houston High School is in the top 7%, according to US News World Report, of all high schools in the state, it speaks volumes for what the teachers and the kiddos are doing here, and also you can't do that without the support of the parents.
Yeah, I've said it before, I'll say it again, the kids have to pay for their AP tests. So, my daughter probably won't take the AP exams, we haven't sat down and had the conversation, but you have some very good students that probably won't even take them, where if the school paid for it and encouraged it, we might get a lot higher results.
What do they cost to take?
Is it $40
$40.
and $45, but I think there's 2 of them that she has to take, or that she could take, maybe 3, I don't know, 2 or 3, but why spend $100 when she's not really gonna get any value from it? So we need to sit and look at that, and it obviously values the school to have good students take those tests, but if I as a parent have to pay for that and she's going to college, I'd rather write her out a check for $100. So if she's not gonna get anything out of it, cause she also has to miss school to take it. So anyway, that's my soapbox, is if we really wanted to improve our scores, we would be encouraging the kids to take the exams and explain that they are benefiting the school. So
And,
I'm not saying she's not going to, but there's a high likelihood she won't.
and for some kids, it depends on where they're going to college, and if they know that, Lily knows where she's going to go.
I think everybody pretty much knows by May, so.
Right. But you can take an AP exam your junior year,
Oh, true,
and you
yeah.
might not know where you're going at that point. But different colleges accept different scores. St. Olaf won't accept anything below a 5. A lot of colleges will grant credit for a score of a 3 on an AP exam, so it really depends on where you're going. There are some colleges that won't accept certain AP exams, and they will accept others. And then there are those that will give you, I have a former student that didn't get a 3 on a, but she had a subject test because it was a AP Calculus BC, which is one above the AB. And they gave her a sub-score on the AB that was above the 3, and so they gave her 5 college credits. And she said, I didn't get a 3 on this test. And I said, yeah, but you did well enough on your sub-score. So she ended up with 5 credits. So sometimes you end up with college credits, and that's kind of one of those preparation things. And then there are those kiddos that did well enough that they entered college second semester freshman year, second semester sophomore year, or first semester sophomore year, just with AP credits.
But I think other I don't know if other schools pay for it or not, but maybe that's why they have so many kids taking it, and we don't.
I know the schools in the area, all the kiddos pay for their own in the area. There's not a school in the area that has.
The high ranking ones weren't in the area, so.
No, well,
Well,
no.
again, I think,
I'm just saying.
I know we've had that discussion
I know.
in the finance committee meeting, we came up, I think it's good to have the discussion if we have extra funds, or if there's a way around that, if that's something that the board feels near and dear
And
to
if
our
we're doing
hearts.
it for, and
If we're gonna do it,
If it goes for ACTs as well, you know,
Right.
we
Yeah, I
like to
mean,
use the
so-
ACTs to determine how well we're doing, but kids don't have to take it, so.
but it's one of those, if we do it for the district,
Right.
we do it for the whole district.
well, I know, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Well,
That-
that's a
and
choice
that's-
too. I
yeah,
mean-
And that's where it comes into costing, so,
I'm
anyway,
looking at being
discussion.
equitable.
I
They're all
understand.
our kids.
Yeah, well,
So, it's a good thing, we appreciate our teachers.
Mhm.
This tools for school, that's great
Yep.
to hear, congratulations on that, and then the world report, I think that's another feather in our cap, so all 3 of them are great things. So, anybody have anything else they wanna say on those events? Meeting and committee updates, HFED,
HFID, we had a meeting last week, they're looking for a place to have the WIN program. Caledonia doesn't want it anymore. And that, they're looking at Hoka School, they're looking at,
They're looking at renting from the city of Boca.
yeah, from City Open.
okay, so we just had to watch this video, right? Remind me,
Right.
the WIN program was the highly successful autism program, or that's a different
No,
one?
That's Spectrum.
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 That's the, so
Mhm.
Caledonia wants to keep Spectrum,
Yeah.
they don't wanna keep.
so if we move
Okay.
Spectrum, if we
The WIN,
move the WIN from Caledonia, why don't we just move Spectrum?
Well, when it's closed, it's not running, is it?
WIN is not running. It's
Right.
not that Caledonia doesn't want it.
It's
HVED
not
This-
running.
knows that it just did not,
Work.
it was
So-
imploding.
Have we looked at moving that whole other thing to Hoka? Would it be cheaper? Because I know that came
So
up before.
HVED is looking at moving it to.
Just that
well,
one,
they're looking at that, or they're looking at Rushford.
I mean,
Even,
cost wise, I mean, that's what
Yeah.
they should be.
So the
Because-
old school in Hoka, is that?
Yeah, the one that
the old school in
the
Oka
town
City,
owns now.
the city, that the city owns.
City owns it. The other thing that, because right now what they're doing is the students from Rushford, I think Spring Grove's in there, Caledonia and La Crescent, are getting driven by van up to Kellogg, Minnesota every day. And because that's such a long van ride, they've put a hotspot in the van and they're giving them Chromebooks and expecting them to do schoolwork in the van
Oh, there you go.
on the ride there, except these are level 4 behavior kiddos.
So, I mean,
Sounds
if
like a
they're
fun
looking
bus ride.
at moving, are they looking for moving other things? I mean, if they're gonna
Well-
move one part of it to Hoka, why not
No,
look at?
the one is very successful in Caledonia, and they want to keep that,
The whole thing, these are two programs that really should
not
not
be together.
coexist.
Okay, well, that was, I
Yeah.
didn't know that, so
No,
that's just.
that-
One is the behavioral really bad.
No, again, I understand, it's not, don't wanna get into it deep, I'm just
Yeah.
curious if, because I feel sometimes we, that that's an expensive HVED is expensive to us,
Oh,
the
yes.
school as a whole.
Mhm.
And if there's a way of saving money, instead of giving, away money,
Well, that's what we got
You know,
Carlson Anderson working on.
I know, and that's
Come up
always
with.
been my concern is we dish out a ton of money
Yeah.
to these programs, and I know we get a lot out of them, but
And they did ask, and I did say, well, at the elementary, if we don't use the extra classroom as our STEM media room, we could possibly have a program here, but they said they needed 2 rooms. And I said, we don't have 2 rooms to spare in either building.
so
And
if we were to build the room that we're talking about in the front of the building over at the elementary, we were talking about
Yeah.
putting a new cafeteria in there, making more rooms. And again, I don't know what they're paying Caledonia for that program, or what they would pay somebody in.
I
Hoka for
think
that
the
program.
rent for that Caledonia wing right
But-
now, and it's just for Spectrum going forward, I think, is it 65?
Could be.
So I mean, it
65,000.
would there, you know where I'm going with this, I think people
Yeah.
know is, would it be worth looking at, okay, we're looking at building this, we get the funds for that. That would be an extra $100,000 towards our school fund, to pay for that part of it, for an addition,
But
right?
these are the kids that are really badly behaved, and you wanna put them in
I'm not
elementary
saying,
school.
no, I'm not saying necessarily those kids
They're
at this
elementary
time.
school age.
They're-
Are they elementary
But-
school age?
Yeah.
Oh, I assume they were
Yeah.
like high schoolers.
Yeah.
No, there are some that are high school, but,
Anyway, you know where I'm going at
they're,
with this is,
they're middle school,
you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I mean, if,
elementary and middle school.
What are we talking numbers of?
I don't know, that's
As far as the number of kids in WIN, or the number of
Yes.
kids in Spectrum.
About 3.
Well, in each.
about,
I think Hoka would be great.
Isn't it really low?
yeah, it's not very many kids.
WIN dwindled mainly because the program wasn't working. There were those of us that thought we probably had kiddos that should go there, but then we
How many
looked at
total
the
have we?
program and we just, no. I think we're looking at maybe 5 students right now.
For both of the programs,
Spectrum has 6.
collectively, so we're looking at 11 kids.
So, but there's a cart and a horse thing here, so it was a poorly designed program, and the location is now a concern also.
The design was,
Six kids were paying a lot
it
of.
forced them to coexist, and that's the poor design. And so
Oh,
now that Spectrum
yes,
is
so
by
if it was-
itself, it is actually working, which is why they're looking at, actively looking at how many other students might need Spectrum, because they're expecting Spectrum to grow now.
But Wynn needs a better location than Kellogg, is that the situation?
Yeah.
Kellogg will stay, the
But not for
The-
them.
The SAIL program in Kellogg is huge, and it's continuing to grow, which is why the alternative school basically had to leave
I'm
the
saying
Kellogg
let's look
building
if we can get
because
some of
they
that pie.
needed,
You know what I'm
they
saying?
needed all
Yeah.
6 classrooms
Should ask them
for their
first.
level 4 behavior
we
program
had
because
the
they
room,
had so
I
many
I mean,
kids
if we
there.
make the room, is what I'm getting at.
Carlson
And
Anderson
so-
met with that.
They're
Right.
assuming that we will have that many down here on our half of the HVED.
Sale and Wynn are the same or similar?
SAIL and WIN are exactly the
Okay.
same.
The difficulty though is if you add to the building,
And you can
and you add up your costs, and the first year you've got 3, there may not be a long-term benefit from it. You may have 3 this year, 5 next year, and you may have none the next year.
Right.
But
Which-
renting,
No,
That's,
you're left
that's our
with-
program that way.
yeah, but renting to HVED, Caledonia gets 65,000, whether
There's
there
one kid or
were
no
the
kids.
2 programs or
Yeah, that's
just
a lot.
one.
That's a lot of money.
It's the whole wing of the old elementary school.
But you know, that's what I'm saying, is we're putting, there's a lot of funds going that way for, you know, so, anyway. Discussion.
Win-win.
Huh?
Could be a win-win.
Yeah, well, gee, they're working on a
Yeah.
plan anyway to try to decide if they're gonna build a new building or what are they gonna do. They have somebody looking into it, so.
Other thing at the meeting, I did watch Kraus and Anderson's PowerPoint. Again, sat through it the second time.
Fun, bless you.
She almost said, I seen that just the night before, or 2 nights before. And somebody else also seen it.
Well, we were
Me
all
too.
supposed to show it to
Yeah,
our
but
board,
we-
so
we-
every single one of
We
you
had
should
our
have
board
seen it.
meetings before, the others haven't yet.
Oh, okay.
The other things I got out of that, well, I'm also on the technology committee for Hiawassee Bend. And they got 2 employees that are technology people. And they thought that they're overloaded, that they maybe need a part-time one. So we start checking into what they're doing. And one guy's doing the lineup for the snow removal, one in terms of the servicing of the car and everything else. We said that we need to look at their job description board and get somebody else to do something that's they're doing for the non-technology part. So
We're
that's,
paying for a
So,
technology
yeah.
person, you're not
So
gonna pay
they're talking Mark Stone and Blake Budnick.
yeah, and they said,
Coordinating.
and Mark said, well, Blake goes into service, or reserves in the summer, and then we might need somebody and whatnot, so. Only other thing I got out of that as well for the meeting is Mabel's gonna be picking up a lot of elementary students maybe, because the state has approved them to take students from Iowa and North Winnick. North Winnick is closing their elementary school.
Oh,
So they're gonna get a lot of those students. if
Yeah,
you-
they're supposed to go to
Or third of
Decorah.
them.
Previously, they could go to Decorah, or
Yeah.
they could go, they could go to Decorah.
Somebody says that's only a 5-year,
Maple.
they can do that for 5 years, but then somebody says, well, after 5 years, it's possible it'll be renewed too.
Well,
So,
they'll revisit it.
yeah.
And the one thing that we found out is once they are a North Wind kiddo and they've gone to Mabel, that's an arrangement that only works for Mabel. That student then cannot open enroll to any other Minnesota school, because if they decide, oh, I'd rather go to Spring Grove, or as we had some that tried to open enroll to MNVA. And that's, the state of Minnesota has the arrangement that it's just Mabel.
Okay, anything else, Sergey?
That's all I got.
Okay, we had an online committee meeting? Maybe?
We had an update on Destination Career Academy, and enrollment is actually ahead of where we thought it would be, which is great. And there's already 52 kids, making that up, maybe around 50 kids already, new kids enrolled in the Destination Career Academy, which is awesome. Our graduation rate, did you send an email out
Yeah.
to that? It went out
It's
to
like
the board.
11, so.
So that increased drastically, which is awesome because of the work that everyone is doing to increase the graduation rate. Angela talked a bit about some course changes. They were all basically in the elementary school, nothing real major there. And we talked about the fun 3-year review plan. So, and we got out early.
Anybody have any questions on
And
that?
the new hire.
Oh, and we went
Oh,
over
yeah.
the new hire. Yeah. I'm not gonna say her name, but we got the resume of the new hire, if anybody wants to look at it. We're really excited. She's gonna start May 13th, so. Anything you'd like to add?
Thank you so much. If I could just clarify, the 52 are applications in for enrollment. So they've got to go through the process and so on. So I would want to clarify that one thing.
Anything else you wanna say?
You know, I would say thank you to Corinne for all the support that she gives me. I'm in 7 months now working with MNVA, and she always makes herself available. You know, I know she's got lots to do, and so I'm grateful for the time that she gives. And I would say also, you know, thanks to Lisa and to Angela for traveling to Rochester to conduct those interviews. You know, I thought it was important, and appreciated the time that they gave.
Yeah, and thank you for coming down. We don't have another meeting again for a while, so
Online till September.
online meeting, so.
Oh, we've got board meetings all the time.
Yeah, no, I know that. I think everybody does, but yeah. So, but yeah, I think Destination Career Academy is off to a good start. It sounds like we're all really excited. The committee's excited about it, so, yeah. That's it.
Anybody have any other questions on it?
Graduation online is the city's 31st, is it?
Nope, second.
Second. It caught me.
On-site's 31st.
Are you attending?
Oh, yeah, who is attending?
Oh, the online.
I just figured you, since you're at top of the day.
I don't know yet.
That's the second of the annual.
So at the next board meeting,
Yeah.
we will be asking about who is attending, who would like to, if anyone would like to sit up on the stage, so we can set that up and you can shake hands as they're getting their diplomas. We've had some board members do that in the past. We did have one board member that one year asked to speak. He did a great job. So that's always an option for you as well. So at the next meeting,
I'll have to see if the Twins are playing again. They won today.
What time is it on the second? It's on Sunday?
it's on a Sunday.
On
And it's
Sunday.
at what time?
Sunday at 2.
2 o'clock.
Okay.
It's usually an hour, 2 to 3, and then we've got cake afterwards. And then you actually talk to some of the kiddos. But, I've seen their name, in some cases, I've seen their name for now 12 years. And I finally get to put a face with a name. It's fun.
Okay. Any other thing on it? Anything else? from you?
Nope, that's
Good. Okay, any board superintendent feedback? Thank you.
We did get a thank you from Ascentec. They had their annual meeting here. They had 160 members registered for the event and served approximately 200 for lunch. So obviously, some people wandered in from town and just ate lunch. It was down from previous years, but Sherry Wilkemeyer, Todd Raisler's administrative assistant, said that she feels that weather might have been a factor. But I did want you to get that thank you. And also, future agenda item, it is time to renew our contract for our environmental consultant. Steve Musser had gotten it before we switched to IEA. There is no one other than Steve Musser doesn't want the contract. He doesn't have time to do it. So IEA is basically it. They're the only game in town. So they've got the contract. That'll be on the next board agenda for approval.
That flew by the time.
Yeah.
Well, they're doing a very good job in the radon testing. There were a couple things that needed to be retested. All our radon testing came back clear. So we lower levels of radon, so we don't need to do any scrubbing. And so we've gotten all of that
But
testing.
The cost will be through the roof now.
The cost is a little more than we paid, not as much as they've charged. I think the first year is 4,000. And so I know with Steve Musser, it was 35.
Oh, I thought it was worse than that.
I thought it was gonna be a lot worse than that, but yeah, over the 3 years, the total cost is going to be about 12,500 or 600, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
It's still a chunk of change, but legally we have to have them,
What
and
do you do, right?
they're helping a great deal with the abatement process and then cleaning out chemical room and helping with some toxic products in the art room.
Okay. Anything else? Do you have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
A motion, do you have a second?
Second.
Second by Pete. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yes. Now we're gonna go right into the strategic plan part of
Yep,
it?
now we go right into the strategic plan, and so what we need to do with the strategic plan, we're talking about marketing. We've done the strategic planning with, the relevant coursework. And so with that, you can see that we've got the new courses that are being offered. Next year, we're looking at, putting together the STEM media room in the elementary school. So those plans are in place for next year. We also, I just blanked. We've got relevant coursework, technology. The technology committee is working, but at the next meeting, we'll have the e-learning plan. And, we'll be looking at take-home program, and so all of that's moving forward from the strategic planning. So now we've just got marketing and start looking at specific steps we wanna take and direction for marketing.
This came up a little bit in the online part of it, if you don't wanna go into that at all, maybe just.
In the last meeting?
In this meeting, yeah, we talked a little bit about what our direction was as far as marketing the DCA and then letting the counselors know, and as far as trying to get more students involved in it.
Yeah, I mean, there's the whole online piece, and then there's our local school piece for marketing. So online, I don't remember if you said one of the big things for online is Destination Career Academy from the strategic planning. It aligns with everything, but Corinne was saying that they would put together, she was hoping to put together just details on the Destination Career Academy and get them to all the counselors in the state so that they could talk with kids about it.
And
AP
AP exam.
Oh, yes,
AP.
and all the AP, thank you.
Yep.
And, yeah, so I don't know, when we look at marketing, if we wanna look at the two kind of separate. I'm hoping that K-12 does a lot of marketing, so I think we align with what they're doing, but that's the hope. I guess there might be slight change in what we would want, but I don't know what else to say. I mean, we're hiring a person. Is that person helping with marketing as well, or is it more just the relationship building, or?
There is the marketing component is basically the marketing function of the corporation.
Okay.
So she will be close to what's taking place and helping to have that information present and here, no surprises for Corinne and so on in terms of the marketing, and but she will not be creating marketing.
Right.
And you were saying, as far as with the online program, there's 50-50 as far as spending, and you were saying something about they're leaning towards a different avenue as far as how they're marketing to the public.
So there's we had a discussion today with Todd Goldthwait, and he's the Senior Vice President for Marketing at K-12, who reports to the CEO. And so he now is becoming a partner with Corinne as part of what's called Executive Board Partner Program through K-12. And so Corinne will have a chance to really talk with him directly as much as she likes. He may even come and visit. Today was an introductory conversation between he and Corinne where he had described a transition that will be taking place into more streaming, where we see a lot of national ads, but there's a lot of movement into the streaming market. And so what I would think might be helpful is to put together really a full marketing presentation for the board when you guys would like to see that. He might be present for that. It might be something that we would look at in September at the online committee meeting and then the full board, or it's something we could put together before that. But I would want him, who's really setting direction, to talk about marketing with you all more than I would want to do. So I don't want to conjecture. I want you guys to have what's really happening and have exact timelines, and so that's how I would do that. Tom, does that do anything?
Yeah, I just
Okay.
wanna let the board know that we're, like Mimi said, you got online and you got brick and mortar, and how are we marketing each group, and where are the funds? I know years ago it was always a question, right, Mimi, with you and I even, and on the board is, online committee is, where is our money, what's the money being utilized for?
Mhm.
And is that the best way of spending them dollars?
Yeah. And we can be specific about what is being done.
I mean, I know
and
we
what
don't have
markets.
control over it, but I think as a board, it's nice to know, I know we've talked about it over the years, right, Mimi? Because she's been on the committee with me for a long time, and, focusing on Houston, because that is our concern. What is K-12 doing for us as a school to build and make our school program K-12 better, not only for our community, our students, but all of our students, throughout the state. I know that's come up in the past, and I think you guys are doing a good job, is for what I see. And I think this DCA, the way we've got it set up, I think that's gonna be another good thing.
Yeah, so I think I'm struggling a little bit with this, but I think if we take a step back and we look at if we look at online and we look at the strategic level, I think the Destination Career Academy and the marketing associated with it is probably what our marketing goal is for that school. And then all of what Tom just said is all the follow-up and all that stuff is all the details. But I think then my next question is, if that's what we're doing for MMBA, then what are we doing? What's our big thing for here? What do we want to focus on for marketing?
For our school itself, in-house.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've talked about relationships with the community and, various things, but what is the big thing that we want to
Thoughts,
do here?
ideas?
So.
Jane, Magdalene?
I had a brief conversation with Corinne yesterday, and there've been a lot of changes that have taken place locally on the grounds and the buildings and new courses, and we've had a concern of, wanting to get feedback and different ways to get feedback from the community for World's Best Workforce and all of that. And so, we mentioned the newsletter, but then I said, well, maybe we should try again a town hall or an open forum of some sort to see if there is interest locally to give a in-person presentation, because a lot of those newsletters have information and a lot of them just get in the pile. So I'm just looking for other ways to reach out locally to the local community in person to share what's been happening and answer questions.
I know we've had, in the past, we've gone to meetings, like the Lions and the council and that type of thing to try to let,
But it's been a while,
But it's
right?
been a while, yeah.
Yeah.
It was,
So,
and even any.
is that worth pursuing,
I know Ron had, and I don't know what, if it was something he learned at MSBA, I don't remember, but he brought up the idea, I think, of having, an event at the school. And, we talked about, maybe it was in strategic plan, we talked about Corinne presenting on what you did with
my national
yes,
certification.
thank you.
Okay,
Yeah, like what that means. I was gonna say typing for, yeah.
accessibility.
Thank you. I couldn't come up with the right word. I was gonna say hearing impaired, but yeah,
Well, that's-
accessibility. Yeah. So, but just there might be some people interested in that, or every quarter maybe we have an event, or we try to do that for a year to bring people in. Because do we want them to just know what's going on in the school, or do we kind of want to bring them in to see it here? I guess that's the question.
Well, I think our community is a lot, now that I'm reaching the senior years, our community is more than the parents of the students and the teachers are pretty well aware on a day-to-day basis what's going on, but the community is a lot larger than that, and just to make those make those connections, even for somebody to see and hear that those kids were the Honor Society kids doing community service, you know, that we have these AP courses, you know, back in the day, that was just a thought, now it's commonplace, and our students do that, you know, it's to address some of those kinds of, providing information to make the connections.
You have to look at the fact that the community is the school. The school is the hub for everything. When a small town loses their school, they basically lose their town. So therefore, you've gotta tie into the community as much as you can. There's a lot of the community members, as you said, sure, the parents of the students, they know what's going on a day-to-day basis. But there's a separate removal for the community. And just like watching up at the park, when I was helping at the park yesterday, the community members were really impressed with some of your honor society students and how hard they worked. Now, yeah, they did, but it was like they were a separate entity. It was like the community didn't expect that. And so as you go around your various circles and everybody's working diligently, everybody's eyes kept looking to the center of the park and where those National Honor Society students were down in the holes, digging in the muck, and they were doing the hard work. And see, that's kind of it was like somebody had showed up and was working that they didn't have an identification with. And I'll give the example about it. I was working in a group where we didn't have a captain of our group, and so I was kind of coordinating everything, and there were 4 women that were kind of helping us, and I had no idea who they were. And when I went home last night, I just brought that up to my wife. I said, yeah, there was 4 women that were helping with my group. And she goes, oh yeah, those were the prisoners from Caledonia. And I go, what? I said, really? See, and I bring this up because it has a little bit the identity of your students that you sent over. Because what did I do? It's like, what? They were working with me. And so it was foreign to me, just like those students that were in the center of the park were foreign to the people they were working around.
Okay.
And working
Because our
really
students,
hard.
our honor students are not gonna be prisoners ever.
They were working much harder than the prisoners were, okay? I will tell you
We're
that.
hoping
Yeah.
that's not where they
Control
go.
of this?
Yeah, but the reason I bring that up is that
Jeez.
they were 2 separate entities that the community didn't directly identify with,
But they're part of the community,
but they're part of the community.
yeah.
Now,
So I think
obviously, the students
So
are
like you're
more
saying,
of a,
Marketing, you know.
yeah, they're more of a part of the community,
We
and
have
so therefore, we need to do things that identify what's going on here at school to the community. And we need to do it in venues that allow the public to not just, and I don't know the answer to that, but some way in which the public gets to hear about it directly, where they don't have to come on Tuesday night at such and such a time to a particular place.
Well, we've talked about in the past where we've had, meetings, you know, have them come in and look at some of the new things that we've done in the building, have a walkabout, you know, look in the gym, you know, what's going on there. Now, after this summer, we'll have the science room. You know, and some of these people that were at the park, you know, they went to school here. Most of them, all of them probably.
Yeah.
And, you know, when they come into our schools and we hear it when we do tours of schools, you know, they're like, wow, I can't believe the building's still standing. Second, of all the improvements you guys do. No, I mean, you know, you hear that because, you know, I mean, so when the science room comes up, that would be a good opportunity to bring in the community to let them know what we're doing to enhance our school, to allow our kids to take these science classes, you know, different things, just introduce them. But I don't know how we can do that without doing a specific date. You know, maybe, you know, you can't just say, okay, on this week, we're gonna have open house.
I
You
know
could,
Kyle and his classes really wanna do an open garage. It's instead of an open house, but they would really like to just kind of show off the work they've done there.
Well, especially if you can coordinate around this, You know, this class of 1966 has just been phenomenal. I mean, the identity they brought to Houston, you know, we all laughed about it in the beginning, but boy, these people are serious.
Oh, yeah.
And when you go up to the park, every year they're getting more and more of their class that's joining them. And they have an allegiance to this building, well, I shouldn't say this building because they were in the other building, but they have an allegiance to this school that is, you know, unmatched by anyone else. So they will bring people in here just by their conversations. And so I think that's very important.
Yeah, they were very supportive of the
Very.
upgrades that
And
we
when
did
they
at
had
the
the,
elementary.
when they had the groundbreaking down here, when they had the news last week, I mean, we had two of our elementary classes came over, and those students were just fantastic out there. They were playing games in a little circle. The teachers were just doing fantastic job. Because, I mean, they had all that big equipment moving over there, but yet these kids were there in person taking. Then Trent Edwards was down, and he spoke on behalf of the Honor Society, because they raised the funds through the donkey basketball for that. And he was interviewed with the newscasters. He did a good job with that, everything else. I did talk to the board of directors, the president of the board of the directors of his tech on Saturday, and asked him about our channel.
How'd that go?
And he says, "Oh, I says, he said, I'll have to bring it up at the meeting. I don't.
So you know where it's standing.
So nothing's happened with that, is what you're saying?
The city got the contract from a Centex lawyer, they had their public hearing, then a Centex told them that that wasn't the official contract. And so right now, that's
You
where
should
it's
call them
sitting.
back
I'll
up,
call
Gene,
him
and
back.
ask them what's going on.
That's
So anyway, that's a good, another
the first
marketing
meeting.
tool.
It's a
You know,
communication
letting the community know what's going on in the
They're a
school,
communication company.
you know?
Yeah, they have a communication company.
But you know what I mean, that would be a good, that's, I think that'd be, once we get it, if we do, would be a good marketing tool.
That's the one thing that I've heard from both the city and Centec, that no one has a problem with the school getting their JPEG channel. So.
Because
it's
Caledonia-
just a PEG
Caledonia
channel,
had
not a
one, didn't
JPEG. That's a
Gonna say, isn't that a picture?
Restaurant
Yes,
theaters.
JPEG's a
But I
picture.
wasn't
Well,
gonna
this
say
will be a
that.
picture. No, it's the
Okay.
PEG.
So that's something, if we ever get that, that would be nice to incorporate what's going on, whether it be the, you know,
For those
PCA
people that have the
school,
Centec
you know, what's going
video.
on. And the, as far as open house down there, I think that would be another marketing opportunity for us, anytime we can.
Well, and I see, so I don't know where the, you know, so the foundation, Hurricane Foundation, right? And I don't know how, you know, I don't know what's going on with that. I know other school districts have frequently whole community foundation, education foundation fundraisers.
The
And
Hurricane Foundation works very autonomously, and it's not really connected with the school, where I know with the other foundations,
they're part of the school.
they're not a part of the school, but they work hand in hand with the school. Their fundraising is, fundraising specifically for things that the school has requested. And so they work hand in hand that way. Well, I'm speaking in terms of both La Crescent and Caledonia.
Right, those are the two I'm thinking of.
Foundations that I
Right.
know of the most. And that is not the way our Hurricane
Okay,
Foundation.
that's kind of
has
a
it.
marketing opportunity. I don't, you know, because that's, you identify a request, you get some buy-in locally,
Mhm.
but it's just, I'm just throwing things.
No,
out
no,
there.
that's what this is all about, this meeting is, that's why it's pretty much blank, is to throw out ideas, thoughts, how we can market our school, whether it be brick and mortar or online. What's the best avenue, you know, like Pete and both you said, Michael, is, you know, bringing in the community, the elders, if you wanna call them that, you know, other people that don't have kids in school, you know, letting them know what's going on in the school.
Well, we even tried in the past to have a forum for the community to inform them about MNVA, what it was and what it wasn't,
Mhm.
to dispel.
Yeah, rumors
Yes.
and propaganda.
And, you know, I don't know how well, it was not that well received, at least by the numbers that were there, but I think it was a good effort. And that would be just another opportunity to make the connection between local and our you know, MNBA presence, DCA.
Mhm.
And career and college readiness, I mean, that's a new thing that the community needs to understand better. What is this career and college ready? What does that mean?
So we look at it maybe as a board coming up with ideas for a quarterly kind of speaking up on downtown.
Well, I mean, we do the newsletter and the website is nice. I think Lisa's doing a nice job with the website. And we have students doing a lot of stuff for us. And
Yeah.
Or you gotta, if somebody does something, you gotta write it up and give it to the newsletter too. I mean,
exactly, because Ann's always begging for stories, right?
I wrote the one up on, the Hargrove boy that, with art and everything else, and trying to incorporate that we are a STEM school, or a STEM school instead, we have art, because some schools are cutting out elementary art from that, and
Well, I think, I don't know, I mean, I guess we don't need to get into the details here, but I would love to have more events where we try to welcome more than just parents, so, you know what I mean?
That's what I'm
It's,
saying.
That's
and
what
make
we're
it, yes, but then also, I think maybe there should be some sort of, at the same time, I think that there are parents, and just based on earlier about what's the right behavior at a game. I mean, I think some of us parents, we need a little bit of an educational aspect when we're at stuff too, because Josh, I don't know, I've never been, actually, I'll even change the topic, a pet peeve of mine. When you're at a music concert, there is etiquette. And if you go to some of them, it lists it right in the program. This is the correct etiquette. You don't answer a phone, let your phone ring, you don't get up during a performance, you know. I mean, there's just some basic stuff, but, you know, it wouldn't hurt to give those at a high school concert. It wouldn't hurt to give them, you know, just like the game, you know, like, keep your kids under control, just stuff like that, but there's a lot of, I think sometimes we expect parents to know stuff, you know, and nobody's ever told them.
Well, one of
So-
our core, isn't one of our core things, safe, welcoming
Mhm.
environment, safety and welcoming. Those are
But not
two
in a,
things,
like,
right?
you're not doing this right, but hey, you know, we're gonna watch a movie tonight, let's all talk about etiquette when you're watching a movie. And it's this, and it's just a quick 5-minute thing, but I don't know, if we could just do more of those things, like community movie night, not just, they do them at the elementary school, but I know it's go home with the kids, so how does everyone else know, you know? If you don't have
There's-
kids, then are they welcome, and can we show some movies that might not be animated, but yet might be appropriate for all ages, you know, and just stuff like that, or community education, or how can we get more adults in, I don't know.
It's surprising that society will conform to what we want. And nothing showed that more than, you know, back when I was coaching softball, my girls were required to dress up when they would come to an awards presentation. They were required to appear in a certain way before games. I had no problems with numbers that came out from my sport. I had no problems with the kids objecting to it ever. They knew the etiquette of how they were to act in certain situations. But you're absolutely right in the sense that we older people today have this belief that everyone grows up learning what we learned in our day and age about etiquette, about the proper behaviors, and that's not true. And so we have to teach that to people. And what we're talking about here now is marketing our school to the public. I think we've got to think of an area, a venue, call it whatever you want, that fits just right, because I don't think it'll work to just announce to them in the paper or whatever, next Tuesday at 7 o'clock, you're all encouraged to come to the school. They won't come. It's gotta be associated with something that they're coming to.
Cookies.
And you're absolutely right. You serve food, everybody comes. But you see what I'm getting at is that
And
Are you proposing an event like the donkey basketball?
I was just gonna say
There needs
donkey
to be some
basketball brought in a lot
event
of people.
that occurs, that it isn't like a total separate issue that we're dealing with. But we gotta come to their level, not that they have to come to our level.
Well, you know, I like the donkey basketball idea. There was a lot of people there from the
It was
community.
well
and, you know,
received.
Where that would have been a great opportunity, maybe before the game or after, you know, sometime in there for
Halftime.
something to be incorporated with going on in the school. You know what I mean? And it didn't have to be a 2-hour presentation in the middle of the game, but you know, like a 15, 20 minute,
Shorter the better.
hey, I just wanna let you guys know what's going on in the school. You may have heard about this. And
Yes.
bring it up. Because, like you said, there's a lot of community members there at that time. It's a good chance, a good opportunity for us to
And
tell
we keep,
people.
we keep talking about the school doing so many successful things. Well, it's a given. Everybody wants to be associated with a winner. They always do. You know, teams that I coached when we were winning, you had no discipline problems, you had no academic problems, nothing. Because everybody wanted to be a part of winning. Well, we brag about our school and we talk about our school being so good, but that doesn't do any good unless the public feels they're a part of that.
Well,
And
it's just, yeah, it's respect going both ways. Respect for the
Exactly.
community and the
Exactly.
community, growing the community respect for the school.
And getting the information out to the local community. What's the best, you know, that's where our biggest problem is. Whether it be a quarterly event or going to the events that are going on in the community, because I don't think there's a lot of people go to the city council meeting. I have, you know, there's not a lot of people that come here.
you know,
Can I mention something?
Yeah.
All the million games that we go to all the time, a lot of school districts are getting, big screen TVs in their gym, and then they have
Or just running it.
announcements on there, just different things that are going on.
Oh,
That's a good idea.
Oh,
It's a really good idea.
mhm.
Kind of like the thing they have down here, but it's a big
Marquee.
screen.
Well, and, yeah. It's an
and it's in
idea.
the gym where you can see it and you kind of watch it.
Where everybody comes and.
Subliminal messaging.
That's the way.
Dancing popcorn boxes.
So do we have enough I mean, like, if we take a step back at the strategic planning level, if we say that we want to, I'm not gonna be able to word it properly, but we wanna incorporate the community more with our school, could that be our high level goal, and then we write some ideas out that we can do to,
We wanna
because
make
that
sure
seems to
that
be,
the marketing focuses the community.
yeah, we want, I think we're all saying,
I
we
think
want the
that's what we're
community
saying.
kind of here, we want them to know what we're doing, we want them to see it, we want them to be a part of it, and then at the same time, our kids are gonna be, the students are gonna be more involved potentially in the community once they're doing all this, career, what's the correct term for their internships that they might be doing, is there a term for that? No?
It's school work.
School to work. So just having it go both ways, and I guess both of them would be under that goal, maybe?
And just a wild hair, if this, I don't even know, but Michaeline bringing up the Hurricane Foundation. Does the Hurricane Foundation, before they used to have an alumni basketball game and pancake dinner to raise money. Maybe I reach out to, I think Lisa Jervis is still, or is it Larry or
I thought it
Lisa?
was Larry.
Very
It's
something.
very well attended too, by the way.
Yeah, I
Is
think
it?
Larry is. He is,
That would be a great event where we could say
Is
about
it
what's
still
going
on?
on in the school.
No,
I haven't had it for a long time.
They haven't had it for a long time, but I just, when we're talking about donkey basketball, our gym was packed. And there's
Part of
all,
that was though, we hadn't had one for quite a while.
right, but
If you do it too,
If
yeah.
you do it too
You gotta
often.
time
Right.
it right.
But again, if you're looking at alternating things, you know,
but
this
it's also one of those
alumni
things that,
basketball game and, you know, that type of
and
thing.
if there's something, the music booster auction,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
brings people in every year. Everybody knows, it's, people look forward to it, maybe we,
But I will say that attendance seems to be down
Yeah.
more and more every year, and
This year
I,
was down compared to the last few years.
yeah. I think that if we as a school would help publicize it more and encourage
We just have
alumni
to
or.
refresh, you have to make
Yeah.
it fresh. You
Hit
have
the
to-
refresh button.
Mhm.
So So our marketing, going back to what you were saying a minute ago, our marketing goal then is gonna be more community involvement, more community education.
Well, I would favor you reaching out to the foundation, or, you know, question not asked. I mean, we might as well,
And see if there's something
some-
that they need, if they do a fundraising effort, if they wanted.
On the alumni versus student basketball, that just fizzled out due to lack of, you know, well, no, it's just the alumni, some of those solid ones couldn't make it, and it was like 2 years back to back, and it just fizzled down to then didn't materialize. On Donkey Basketball, that was thinking of marketing, that was the perfect storm because you involved the community in a new activity that was entertaining. I mean, it just hit every button. I mean, anyway, that's why that was a success. I know for a fact if we could do some, they could do some brainstorming on what event to do.
Well, the alumni basketball, and then having food associated with it.
Yeah.
That goes a chili supper, whatever, that always helps. The only reason it kind of faded out, it's critical who you have in charge of each team. You have to pick very
Yeah.
enthusiastic leaders of each team. They'll get the players, don't worry about that. And the players, you gotta remember, their families wanna come and watch them. As foolish as they may look, they wanna come and watch them play. And so that builds your population. The high school kids really enjoy coming. And so it's, I mean, I can't say if you do it every year how well it would be, but it hasn't existed for quite a while.
Have you ever done a high school versus alumni like basketball game, or is this is
Well,
alumni
that's what it
alumni?
is.
That's what it is.
The current
That's
high
what it
school.
is.
Okay.
And you have to be careful when you do that because Minnesota High School League rules
Oh, okay.
garner as to when that can be.
And
It
it's-
would be fun. I mean, honestly, it would be fun to do something with volleyball or football too. I mean, I think if we were to kick off a season,
yeah.
I'm not saying a football game. I don't know anything about football, honestly, but volleyball. I mean, just to kick off the season
Lined up out
and
there.
get the community excited to come, because it is fun. And I think sometimes it's intimidating for people who don't come to games. They're, oh, I've never been, you know. But it shouldn't. It should be opening and welcoming, safe
Well, again,
environment,
we've
right?
been talking about changing it up every now and then, whether it be one year we have a donkey basketball, the next year we have alumni thing, the next year we have volleyball alumni thing, you know, just kind of come up, brainstorm some ideas.
Okay.
And then, you know, right now we're planting the seeds tonight for all of us to go home and spend the next couple weeks thinking of ideas on how we can market it. But I'd be curious to find out when we're gonna find out about ACE, the channel too.
Yeah, me
That's only
too.
been a year and a half, but
Gwen's idea is a great one.
It's a
yeah,
it is.
exactly.
Should we get costs of?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd say
we
look
should.
into it, see what it would
That's
cost.
very high priced.
Yeah.
it's very
Just
high
check it
price,
out.
but you know, as far as, I don't know what classes are going on. The students can put together the PowerPoint, the presentation, the slides. I mean, you know, instead of tasks.
And what we
But
put there could go on the channel when we get the
Yeah,
channel.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
And again, if you get the student involvement in it, it can even be that much more creative, I think.
I think
You
so
know,
too.
by having us put it together, it'd be like, we're not gonna watch that, you know.
We could probably
You
get
need
from
to-
Gwen the
you need to
schools
get-
that have it, and they can probably tell us how much it
No, I-
costs too. Right?
It's sad, but you need to coordinate it with.
I usually work at the
Yeah.
Owl Festival when, if I'm not down in Florida, in some wintertime. And the people that come in here, you know, and I use the hall monitor, telling them where to go and things like this. But a lot of people just get a lot of comments on the building, and the shape it's in, how nice it is, and everything
And that's
else.
another
And
opportunity.
they get to see it that way.
You know,
Now,
with-
we do have different class reunions, like the class of 66, but other classes, they'll have a 10-year reunion, 15, 20. Do we do anything to try to get them into the school at their class reunions?
Other classes have come here and done tours, and I've been invited to several class reunions to speak about the changes that have gone on at the school.
I know they invite your mother and she, to just hear her talk sometimes.
And she talks a lot.
Yeah.
Well, one of the other opportunities would be like we just had this last weekend, the ACE thing.
Mm-hmm.
Why couldn't we have ACE allow someone to have a 10, 15-minute presentation during their thing? They're
Just
using
have
our
the
building.
monitor up there running.
No, I mean, that's what I'm saying. They're in our building. Why couldn't we
Well, it's
just?
so people, you know, from all over.
Right.
Yeah, so.
It's right.
A lot
Those
from
people-
Iowa. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not
But again, it's
necessarily
just
our
talking,
target.
you know. I don't know. showing it out there, man, throwing
Yep.
it out there, opportunities.
Yep.
So, anyway, so do we have anything else you wanna bring up, or do you wanna let it sit for a
So
while and bring it back?
when do you want, because we still don't have any concrete plans, timelines.
We kind of have a high-level goal locally, and we have a high-level goal for Destination Career Academy for MNVA, which we may hear the marketing package come fall or whenever.
Oh, we got, at our meeting today, we got quite a bit of TV stuff that they got, if you go out to the website, that they're doing.
Right, so
I think, yeah, oh, go ahead.
All I was gonna say is, so how is it being divvied up as far as, were you, Corinne, were you gonna speak with the foundation about,
Yes.
stirring up?
Yep,
And then Gwen's gonna investigate the
the TVs.
TV or the,
Mhm.
And she's gonna call other schools and see what the cost is.
and then the next thought is, okay.
And we can talk to Joe Rusky at Dependable, because he works in a lot of different schools. He might know what they've got in their gyms, and, because we would need to make sure it's,
Shatterproof or
yeah,
something.
I was gonna say ball proof.
A TV and a gym is tough.
And I think the next step is just a basic marketing plan, probably the same thing that K-12 is doing, except
Okay.
a lot simpler, but just these are the 3 things we wanna do to accomplish this goal this year or whatever, and that's what we're gonna focus on. And we
Okay.
can then
well, how did
review-
you say it, Josh? You said that the donkey basketball was the sweet spot because
Yeah.
it was entertaining,
And
it was.
incorporated the
It
community.
incorporated, so that should be part of it. We should plan for some event that incorporates
It was something
The
new,
community.
something new, something
and then we,
entertaining.
Borrowed something.
and in that case, what made it entertaining was that you weren't watching just someone else from another community on the donkeys. We were watching our folks on the donkeys, and that's what made it. We could, that it was awesome.
Maybe we could do Ellen's Game of Games. We could have our
Oh, yeah.
people on.
I tell you what, maybe we should
Well, it'd be
follow-
entertaining.
have her come in and do it here.
You want us to bring the duck cake back at the Lions and have the faculty be up there, or the staff?
The one perk of like the basketball games were it was low cost. It was involved just.
Yeah, that also has to be part of it. You gotta do something.
I mean that worked out well because it was just a lot of the facility.
They raised a lot of money there.
And honestly too, I mean, I'm thinking if you were to propose this to some kids and get their ideas, they'd probably come up with some pretty good ones too. So, just FYI,
Yeah,
like
so
if the
maybe
Honor Society
Lisa
said,
could talk to the Honor Society and say, how do you
they've
see?
done it in the past.
Or did they
and
just support it?
They
actually-
coordinated it.
I remember
Honor
that.
Society coordinated donkey basketball, I think.
Yeah, they did.
Yes.
They did. I'm just wondering who came up with it or who made the connection
It
with that
has been done here
organization.
years ago, I think, so, I don't know.
Yeah, it just went a lot of years we weren't having it. That's
But
the
there's
reason.
different groups, I mean, as you're talking about stuff that's I mean, there's robotic stuff you could do, I mean, we have a couple of robots and they could,
A list of things.
they could hash it out, they could come up with a course, and, I mean, you could get some alumni to steer them or what, I mean, there's tons of ideas you could come up with, but creative kids are probably better than we are.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a couple line items or directions, right?
So when are we gonna revisit the
Yes.
topic? Maybe that's, what we need to do is, like you said, go home and think about it
Right.
some more, and we need to have it as a,
Yeah.
where are we at and what do we want?
I can,
Well-
how about an update at the June 3rd meeting? I can, as a
Yeah,
discussion
because then
item.
we'll know more on the alumni part of it. We may have more information on marketing for DCA by June 3rd, as far as where they're at and if there's anything. I mean, he's been sitting there listening to us and he may come back with other ideas.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he got lots from us.
You never know.
Donkey basketball.
It's helpful to hear, and so we can meet whatever timeline.
You know, I mean, if they're,
Works for the board.
but they may have ideas where their direction, because they're part of it, there's a line, right?
By then,
K-12, they
maybe we
may
can
have,
come up with the PDF that goes out to the counselors about the DCA and the AP classes.
if we wanna have that prior to the next year, for sure, correct?
Yeah, we can show outputs of what we're doing already, but I was thinking about what Michaeline said about the connection to the community, and we have a local development person in the state of Minnesota who could come and and be a part of, you know, something however it could happen here, you know, so.
See?
Yeah, put a face to,
Yeah.
I mean, not, you,
And
you're
she could
here,
help
you've
with the
been here
event.
often, which we
She could
appreciate.
help with some of the event work and so on.
Yeah. Yeah, good idea. So the 3rd
It's not gonna be the 3rd though,
of June?
the 2nd is
Oh,
graduation.
second is graduation, and so it would be the,
The
let's see,
following.
that, let's see, the 30th, and so then it would be 6th.
6th.
First meeting in June.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's easier to say.
Thank you.
First
That's the
Thursday.
way I wrote it.
First meeting in June, okay. Anything else? We don't have to adjourn because we never
Nope.
opened our meeting. Okay, thanks everybody for coming
Thank
this
you.
evening. Thanks for your time.
Thanks.